Let's now turn to a defining issue that could determine who will win the White House. It's the economy. Americans are asking who will be the right candidate for me to make my life better at the grocery store, at the gas pumps, and of course when I file my tax returns. For more, we're joined by Adel Nazarian, American political analyst. Thanks very much, Adel, for joining us here this morning. Now, Adel, poll after poll shows that Americans want a candidate who will deliver on the economy. Broadly, what do we know about what Harris and Trump have proposed on what they plan to do if they get into the White House?
I was muted. Hi, I'm back. So thank you. It's great to be on with you. During the DNC convention, Kamala Harris did say that she will make it a core tenet of her tax policy, her economic policy, to reduce taxes, will actually make sure that no taxes are raised on the middle class, those Americans that are making under $400,000 a year. They won't see a tax increase. That's a continuation of policy, of course, in the Biden administration. But the thing is that, that it sounds wonderful, and it's so important to note that America's middle class has been suffering. But the question then becomes, even if she does go forward, if she becomes president and does try to implement that, she's going to have to get through the Congress and the House, the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives. And based on what Biden had to endure with, being blocked by Republican members of Congress for his own tax policy, it remains to be seen if President Kamala Harris, would be able to accomplish that. The difference is also that, of course, Donald Trump has been wonderful at lowering taxes and helping, to a great degree, the upper middle class, the higher earners in America's economy. But at the end of the day, there have been questions. A lot of scrutiny has come on him because they question, well, you're helping the uber rich in our country, but are you helping the lower and middle classes? And so it kind of comes to push to shove. Who's actually going to be able to implement what they say they're going to implement? And are the tariffs, for example, that Donald Trump is going to implement if he is to become president, are they actually going to inadvertently end up harming the middle class by raising the cost of everyday groceries, gas, other things? So it's a head-to-head battle.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the middle class. Adele, on the one hand, we hear about how growth in the US is the envy of many European countries. We hear about a resilient economy, but then there's this perception on the ground that's really not the case. Go to a grocery store, for example, milk costs too much, people say, eggs are expensive, but the fact that inflation has actually cooled, but this is something that could really hurt Kamala Harris. I really want to know, why haven't the Democrats been able to get that economic messaging across, if you like?
That's a great question. I think that traditionally and historically, Republicans have been better overall for the economy. They've been better for the end user, which is the American individual, the American family. And you're absolutely right. The cost of living, the cost of groceries has absolutely skyrocketed. I talked to relatives of mine living in different states. I mean, of course, in the coastal states where we are, Washington, D.C., California, New York, that's definitely higher there. But when it comes to the Democrats being able to get their messaging across, they just haven't really been seen as the party to help the everyday Americans. They're kind of seen more so historically as the party to serve the the underdog, the American who is not even making enough to be considered part of, let's say, the middle upper class. And for so many years, the Republicans have been able to be spot on with their messaging because they've actually had the experience of being tuned into and actually appealing to that demographic. So the Democrats have to do a little bit of rebranding. I think it's very admirable that Kamala Harris has gone ahead and adopted, if you want to talk about that, a more conservative economic principle when it comes to the tax policy she's hoping to implement. I think it's more of so a response to taking on Trump and hoping to win the presidency come November. But I think that's the main issue, is that just historically, the Democrats haven't made that a top priority. They've always been focused more on, let's say the cultural aspect of things, the different minorities, things of that nature, and never had to worry about the economic part of it.
Now, Adele, sticking with inflation, Trump has said drill, baby, drill, one of Trump's key ways, he says, to combat inflation. His rationale, increasing domestic production of oil and gas would lead to a decline in prices. How sound an argument is that, really? Because given that oil production and prices are really determined at the international level.
At the end of the day, it will affect us because we are also, as much as we're the, output nation of those commodities, we also are consumers. We're a highly consumer-oriented nation. And so even though the international, community does end up setting the price for that, Trump is a master negotiator. And I have no doubt that if push comes to shove, his meetings with different members of the foreign community, different leaders, would probably find him negotiating if he is to become president again. Believe it or not, gas prices that will affect the end American user. And I do believe that he's capable of doing that. The same will be looked upon to Kamala Harris, President Harris, let's say. She will be responsible for building and forging those relationships with the other heads of state and doing a bit of a give and take. Nothing is for free. It's you have to do something to get something in return. And so she'll be responsible to forge those relationships where she can help bring down the cost of prices globally. And that's really the beauty and also the difficult part of being the head of the leader, the commander in chief, the head of the, I think, most powerful nation on earth. It's a big responsibility. Everyone's watching.
Right. Everyone certainly is watching. Adele, thanks so much. Have a great day ahead. That's Adele Nazarian. She is a political analyst joining us there live here on NDTV.